Transnet's freight rail continues to face various operational challenges, such as security-related incidents, rolling stock unavailability, and of course the condition of the rail infrastructure. Last year, the government's entity had their interim financial results released, ending for the year ending September 24, and it indicated a loss of 2.2 billion rand. Now, as part of mitigating the challenging conditions, Minister of Transport Barbara Creecy recently published the Transnet Network Statement for the rail network. So to talk to us more about the implications of this, we're joined virtually now by Moshe Motlohi, who is the acting chief executive of the Transnet Rail Infrastructure Manager. Moshe, thanks so much for your time. Welcome to Morning Live.
Good morning, Sakina. Thanks for the opportunity.
So let's start off by just explaining what does the Transnet Network Statement for Rail Network entail for the struggling Transnet Rail?
Thank you very much. In short, what it means really, it is one step of actualizing the rail reform that has been spoken about for the longest of time, where in essence we say we have separated the operations, which is mostly logistics of the rail business, from the infrastructure. We have now introduced the infrastructure manager, whose purpose is to maintain, own, and make sure that we give that capacity to industry, and we are opening up for new players who want to be part of this value chain. You will remember that up until that point, there was only one operator in this space, but right now we have opened up for those who want to be part of this without displacing the current one. And we then say we want to make sure that we make this to be focused on getting profitable and moving more cargo back to rail, taking it from road, and raising funds that will be required for the maintenance of the infrastructure itself, making sure that the questions we're raising of safety of the infrastructure gets focused through deploying of security systems that are going to work. But at the back of that, we'll also be depending on working with communities that are going to help us to repel people that are vandalizing the rail network, as it is the backbone of the economy. We also want to have a transparent process that will then say no one will hog the slots, just have a slot and not use it. But we want to have people who really mean business, who are serious about moving cargo on the rail and ensuring that the country grows again and the customers gets happy and Transnet at the end of the day becomes profitable.
But there are, of course, challenges, Moshe, faced by Transnet Rail, and this has had a huge impact, well documented, on the South African economy. So looking at the remedies that are envisaged, and perhaps we can take them, corridor by corridor. If you look at the public-private partnerships that you just alluded to, that line from Mpumalanga to the Richards Bay port, which is known as the coal line, we've already seen that sort of partnership there. But there is concern, of course, from detractors who say that this is once again about privatization. So let's speak about the remedies envisioned and, whether this will displace the state, and if so, how?
Look, Sakina, if you're looking at what we have published, we're indicating clearly there that the current operators and their rights, they are protected within the current dispensation, so nobody's being kicked out. However, what we've been doing working with industry is to claim back the capacity that has been lost due to degradation of the infrastructure and other disturbances. As we release that capacity, we're now putting that up to new players who want to come and augment what is being done by the current operator. So nobody loses anything. And the issue of job destruction, I don't think it is true in this way that people that are going to be running trains, there are minimum requirements of how many people should be in each train. Whether those trains are run by operator A or B is not going to change. So any additional train will have to comply with that requirement of employing people. No one will operate trains with less people. So we really are looking forward to say we're creating this opportunity for us because it is well documented. We don't have all the money required to invest in the infrastructure. However, there are partners out there who have money, and when they come in, they help us grow. And if we grow as the country, everybody becomes okay in that customers are going to be happy and the jobs are going to be protected, and we will move back the trucks or the cargo that is rather on the truck that should be on the trains, back to the trains. And in that way, we also will be avoiding accidents that we have seen happening. More so if you're talking about that same corridor. We know where there's that incident where number of school children were killed by a truck. So if we start moving that cargo back to rail, you minimize those occurrences.
So what are the problems in the main? Because last year we saw tons of coal transported by road still to the Richards Bay port, you know, to a point where the municipality had to step in and come up with some mitigating and sometimes punitive measures to deal with that congestion that was building up. So how are some of these measures that are envisaged going to deal with that in the short and medium term?
Look, what we've done in summary, the biggest problems, one has been the degraded infrastructure that needs to be maintained. We've started doing that. We have just come from the annual shuts where we took the network for 10 days, focusing on recovering some aspects of those network. And we're happy to say after that intervention, we've seen the improvement of the network. When the Richards Bay Coal Terminal announces their results, you'll note that we now know that they've done better than the previous year. Of course, there's still room for improvement, and we are excited that the interventions we're making on the efficiency of the infrastructure network is beginning to give results. The second issue is around the security incidents, where there are people who really are targeting the infrastructure for the reasons that I do not know, where there's vandalism coming in. We've put security in to try and repel them. And we know that we cannot only do this alone. It has to be a joint effort where everybody will understand that the rail network is the backbone of the economy, and we cannot afford to have thugs vandalizing this network. And we are working hard at dealing with this, both from a security point of view, and also we have tasked our corporate affairs office to look at the hotspot areas. We need to go and win the hearts and minds of the communities and work with them. I have recently met Amakosi in the same corridor you're talking to, where we're appealing to say, let's reach out and make sure that people appreciate what the rail network does. The third issue is around the signaling. This has also been one of the weakest points, and we're working hard at reinstalling the signaling, because once you have vandalism, it disturbs the signaling of the train, and you start having manual authorization, which slows and kills the capacity. So those buckets, we're targeting them and say we want to make sure that they're coming up. And lastly, is just to re-energize our employees, to say there's nothing to be worried about. This is an exciting opportunity because we will be enabling the economy to grow and will be part of that history that has helped the country to grow.
Moshe, to the point you've just made, what about the maintenance backlogs there, be it in the track system, being in the signaling systems, all of those? There were reports of significant backlogs. So how is that going? Have you improved on that? And of course, how much is still needed? Because there's been underinvestment for a long time to get the system up to speed.
These shuts I'm talking about are targeting the maintenance of various corridors. So we're working with industry to, first we do the condition assessment of the network itself and establish what needs to be done immediately. And we put work in. We have a backlog, as you are correctly saying. We know that for the next 5 years, at least we'll need about 65 billion rands just to get the system back so that we can support the aspiration of putting 250 million tons on rail. This has been broken down by each financial year. So on each of those years, we have itemized issues that need to be done, starting from the infrastructure upgrade to signaling to security, where we say, if we do 1, 2, 3, this is the capacity we should be bringing in. You'll note on the statement itself, we now have indicated that for this period where we have released a statement, we are now able to take 2.4 million tons additional to the committed volumes, which would be part of the new entrants coming into the system. So every intervention, we know how much gain we should be getting out of it.
Moshe, we are unfortunately out of time, but I tell you what, would like to have another conversation with you in terms of, you know, just getting deeper into the issues here, because we know there's also the passenger rail aspect, but the rail network belongs to Transnet, and the impact of that when you have to basically make do for both sides of that system to coexist on this particular rail network. So maybe we'll make time to talk more about how things are going firstly, and then also how you are managing to compromise as the two entities. But thank you so much for this morning. We'll get back to you on that. Moshe Motlohi is the Chief Executive of Transnet Rail Infrastructure Manager, talking to us about the impact of Transnet Network Statement for the rail network. It was gazetted by the Minister of Transport Barbara Creecy, and it paves the way for third-party rail operators to participate in the rail network in a just and fair environment. So there's quite a bit that's going to happen there, Leanne, and very important.
Yeah, very important discussion.